Hello Wolfpack, we're analysing RLC, iExec, and iExec is one of the biggest coins that I'm looking into in this bull market in preparation for altcoin season. I think the chart looks beautiful, right? And I think the fundamentals are great as well. For those of you who don't know what iExec is, just briefly, it's essentially a marketplace in which you can monetize some of your various computer equipments and processing power overnight, even if you wanted to. You basically sell it or rent it out, in a software form, and people harness your computing power to do what they will. Something similar to that. It's a marketplace in which you buy and sell that kind of stuff, and put it up for rent and monetization of that. So at a very fundamental level, that's what it is. Obviously, there's way more to it than that. But essentially, that's all you need to know in order to delve into RLC and realize that, hey, this is a use case that is definitely revolutionary and is used by a lot of things. I know that one of the streaming, I think Theta token is something similar to that, in which you lend your computing power or something similar to that to people who want to be streaming, so they get better stream quality, and you get rewarded in Theta token for doing that. It's very similar like that with RLC, and I think it's great. And just looking into the TA as well, I mean, absolutely beautiful TA. Massive potential in RLC. We can see that. This all-time high here back in 2018, very low. We've ran up to new all-time highs, so it was overvalued. We came down in that May correction all the way back down to the trend line. As you can see here, we have a very clear upwards trend line that has been forming since December last year. This trend line has lasted 9 months. 9 months of an upwards trend on RLC. Each time we've retested this trend line, pumping up massively. So we can see, if we just measure out some of these moves here, we started the trend line here in January. We retested it here in late January, pumped up 151% from that trend line. Came back down to the trend line here in February, pumped up 155% from the trend line. Came down to the trend line again in April. This was the big move here, from which we retested that trend line and pumped up over 9x. Almost a 10x from that trend line. Came all the way back down to the trend line here in June and July when we had that massive capitulation. Undercut it a little bit, but it was a bit of a fake out. And we pumped up again from that trend line, 185%. And what are we seeing right now? Well, we're seeing a retest of that trend line, right? And if history has anything to say about it, going into the most bullish quarter for cryptocurrency, Q4, and especially in a bull market, history has anything to say about it, RLC is going to be going crazy in the next few months. And also, I just want to point out, we have a very, very clear cup and handle formation on RLC, in which we see this beautiful cup down into the handle, which we're currently still seeing, and we haven't seen a breakout of that handle yet. But when we do, we can measure the move here just roughly from the cup, down from the bottom of the cup to the breakout zone, which would be anywhere in this region around $4. This is a very rough estimate, by the way. $2.07. We can measure that from the breakout zone, potentially over here somewhere. Very rough. We can expect the first move up to be up to $6, in which we'll probably be retesting this resistance zone here that we formed just before the move downwards in recent months at $5.89. So that will be our first target. Once we flip above $5.89, obviously, we had this resistance zone at $6.55, which is basically the downwards trend resistance. Once we break that, we're off to the skies, and quite frankly, off to the races on RLC, and who knows where we could go. So very bullish on RLC. This trend line is just absolutely beautiful. I don't see many coins like this. And then, in terms of MACD and RSI that's supporting the trend line here, we can see every single time that we've dropped down to this trend line, we saw a bullish MACD cross on the RSI. So we dropped down to the trend line here as well, bullish MACD cross on the RSI, triggering this pump, drop down, bullish MACD cross, drop down over here, over here, and we saw that bullish MACD cross. And what are we seeing now? What are we seeing now in RLC? Well, we're seeing the MACD converging at a rapid rate, and we're probably going to be seeing a MACD cross coming in the next week, from which will be the trigger moment for another blast off of the support line. This is assuming that Bitcoin holds the 40K support zone, and assuming that we get into Q4 unscathed. Regardless, I think the risk-reward ratio is sensational on RLC, quite frankly, one of the best out here. The bull market price you know, we've got a long way to go. And actually, if we look at the weekly chart, we can see on CoinMarketCap, the bull market price for 2018 isn't actually well documented. We saw a very fast wick up here to $15 in the last bull market, and we've only just topped that on the all-time high. This bull market, $17 before we got crushed down by Bitcoin dropping. So we've got a lot of room to go. You know, $15 is the last all-time high. Altcoins typically go way further than their previous all-time highs, and assuming the fund, and not assuming, but given the fact that the fundamentals are still improving by the day, and given the fact that this coin is basically thriving, you know, and it's very low in terms of market cap. It's 165th on CoinMarketCap. There's been no tokenomic issues. As you can see, the market cap is very similar to the price. No issues at all with the tokenomics. You know, you're going to get, you know, your money's worth of RLC in terms of investing. You know, in terms of tokenomics, you're not going to get devalued by constant new coins coming onto the market, coming into circulation. So, you know, it looks great. Even on the weekly chart, we can see, and we can start to make a price prediction for RLC in this bull market. We don't have much to work with. This wick up is not really comparable to what we've seen in this bull market. We don't really have any clear fractal either. You know, the bears would argue that this area here looks very similar to this area here, but the cyclical theory just doesn't suggest that's actually the case. That could be some sort of a coincidence. I would lean towards the fact that's a coincidence in RLC. What we can see is if Bitcoin reaches our price target, which isn't set in stone yet, by the way. If you want my set in stone price target, come to me in the 1st of October. On the 1st of October, I'll be uploading a video of my set in stone price target. I just need that extra data at the end of the month for monthly close to set it in stone, but it's going to be roughly around 120k for what I'm seeing currently. So if we reach 120k on RLC, assuming we reached, you know, and taking into effect that we reached 64k in May, when we reach 64k on Bitcoin, RLC, which is $17, assuming Bitcoin doubles from 64k, which would put us 120k, RLC will probably be tripling from that point if it performs with the market. This is assuming that nothing outstanding happens. This is assuming RLC stays in its place, which is very unlikely in my opinion. So it could go much higher than this, but it would probably be tripling this $17 price point, which would put it at around 51 USD. So that would be my price prediction for RLC if it performs with the market, 51 USD. Now I will note, just, you know, get all things on the table here of RLC. 50 USD is a very strong psychological resistance, so it'd probably be, you know, your best bet. And, you know, you can't complain with this because this is more than a 10x from current prices. So 50 USD is definitely magnificent. And, you know, it would be your best bet to actually wait, you know, sell out just before 50k, wait for it to break 50k and flip it over and then buy back in just so you have that extra confirmation that it's not going to come crashing down from that region, because strong psychological resistance zones, you know, they tend to be kind of places where the price can dump very quickly. So I'm very bullish on RLC. And, you know, even to reach back, you know, and for those of you who are more conservative, I do like to be conservative for my price predictions. In my opinion, that's a conservative price prediction for RLC. For those of you who like to be conservative, you know, even for RLC to reach its all-time high this year, which is $17, that's still, you know, 4x from current prices. And, you know, that's completely achievable. I mean, even if Bitcoin goes back to 64k, which I think a lot of people think it's going to go back to 64k, that's a 4x, you know, that's just beautiful returns at that point. So it's definitely a coin that's gathered a lot of traction in this bull market. It's died off significantly. You know, we saw a massive crash, and that's due to the fact that we had a massive run up. You know, we crashed down 88% on RLC, but you can see that in just a wick from a weekly candle, that wick was worth 70%. So it moved up very, very quickly, and quite frankly, just at the wrong time. You know, if Bitcoin didn't crash in May, this kind of got a lot higher, but it gives us a better opportunity to get into it now. Now that we know that we have this strong trend line, we can look at the Bitcoin pair. Not really much to say on the Bitcoin pair. There never really is much to say on the Bitcoin pair, but what we can observe is the fact that, you know, we have this critical resistance zone on the Bitcoin pair between 17,000 sats and 13,000 sats, from which every single time we've seen a breakout, we've just kind of skyrocketed on RLC. We saw a breakout here and here. And, you know, we haven't really seen a breakout from that zone ever since 2018. We've just been rejected from that zone constantly. Even back here in 2017, we saw rejections from that zone. So that's definitely a critical zone to take in the kind of short to medium term in RLC on the Bitcoin pair. And we might be seeing a parabolic move up, especially if RLC climbs the market cap ranking. You know, the bears would argue again that this area here might look very similar to this area here, in which we'll probably come up and make a double top. That's possible. And I will say that that's not a bearish scenario at all, because when RLC makes, and if this happens, if it makes a double top here, it realistically could go much higher in the USD pair. It just doesn't necessarily mean it's outperforming Bitcoin to the same extent. So we could see RLC do something like this and get rejected here at 18,000 sats, but also simultaneously go to our price prediction of $51. It's very possible. So the way I see RLC, I don't think it's particularly high risk because it has proven that it can stay around during a bear market. I think that what you should be doing, though, is waiting for some more confirmation on Bitcoin. I don't think right now is the right time to buy a coin like this. We want confirmation that Bitcoin's going to be holding the 40K region. I'm a big believer that it is going to hold the 40K region, but we just want that extra confirmation, that extra little nudge, potentially Bitcoin taking back 48K and making a higher high. Flipping that downwards trend would be the confirmation we need to jump into RLC. But I will say, right now, maybe a small bag of RLC would be acceptable. We're right on that trend line. This is a perfect place for a bounce. And if it doesn't happen, oh well, set your stop losses. You know where to cash out. Cash out possibly down here at like $2.50. Set a stop loss and you cap your losses at like 25-30%. From that point, you can see that we've pretty clearly broken this upwards trend line. So, that's the thing. We've got great support, and we've also got a great indicator from that support of where RLC will be breaking that support on the occasion that it goes to the downside. So you've got that extra security, and what's actually going to happen if we break that trend line. It's probably going to be over for RLC, but so far we are holding it, and that's very bullish news. Thank you guys for watching my RLC analysis. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something about RLC, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.